Yeah, you're on.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Yeah.
Good evening.
Good evening,
evening.
ladies and gentlemen, and dear panelists. On behalf of ICRF, we wish to welcome each and every one of you to our talk show series, webinar series, which is in line with Living with COVID. Last week, we had a session facing the emotional challenges. This week, we are having job challenges that we are going to face. So that will be the point of discussion along with Living with COVID. So we are very happy. ICRF is very happy to have prominent members to this panel today. Obviously, Assistant Under Secretary of Ministry of Labor and Social Development, Mr. Hamad Al Haiki, and ICRF Vice Chairman, Dr. Babu Ramachandran, who is also heading ICRF Life, and ICRF senior member and active member of the community, Advocate V.K. Thomas, who is a legal consultant. And we are very happy to have a media representative, Raji Unnikrishnan, representing Gulf Daily News. So she will be the moderator for the day. And before we move on, I hand over to Raji. We would like to speak few words about what ICRF is currently doing during the crisis of COVID. Just to start with, in the last meeting also I mentioned, in the webinar I mentioned, there are so many activities that ICRF is doing. Past 20 years, ICRF is in Bahrain, working under the umbrella of Embassy of India as a non-government organization, supporting the community in various factors. In the last few months, as you know, COVID has stressed all of us with a lot of difficulties, a lot of challenges that we are facing. A lot of our community members are facing. Unfortunately, some of our brethren have lost their life. May their soul rest in peace. But however, we have to face the situation, move along and face the challenge. So initially we started with food distribution under the guidance of Advocate V.K. Thomas, which has been going on even today. Over 10,000 people, we have provided food for over 2 weeks, and regularly we are getting calls, and we are still continuing to do that initiative. Our intention in that, we don't want anybody to go sleep without having food. We don't want anybody to go hungry. So if there is a situation that anybody is having a food problem, not able to purchase food, not able to have food, please let us know. We will make sure our team will reach food for you. And then we started with our face mask distribution and also antibacterial soap distribution labor camps, as well as in labor sites. We have been doing it for the last 1 month. Over 10,000 reusable face masks has been distributed. Over 5,000 antibacterial soap has been distributed. And the second phase, another 10,000 face masks, as well as antibacterial soap, are going to be distributed shortly. That's going to start from next week onwards. And the most important one, last 20 years, what ICRF has been doing is the Family Welfare Fund. See, for example, if a person who dies here who is earning less than 100 BD, ICRF provides 1 lakh rupees support to the bereaved family, the dependents. We have been doing it for the last 8 years or 9 years. If you take, we have supported over 500 families, which is equal to 5 crores of rupees, which is in terms of Bahrain dinar, over 300 or 350,000 dinar when it compared to the transaction rates. Even today, we are continuing to do it. Just now, we are on the process of supporting 8 families, and we will be continuing the same thing even for COVID victims. An Indian who is dying here, who is earning less than 100 BD, a COVID victim, we will be providing the same support. And hopefully, we don't have anybody like that, but pray that if there is a situation like that, we will be definitely supporting them. And in addition to that, you all know, we have a lot of challenges in terms of emotional distress. We are having people who are not able to talk, a lot of anxiety, a lot of depression. Dr. Babu is supporting a lot of activities in that, in the community. As ICRF, we are working a lot. So today's webinar also will focus that if anybody is having any emotional distress, they can raise your points, your questions in the specifically in the comment column, so that we will definitely address it back to you. So overall, we have over 200 volunteers working tirelessly. I wish to thank each and every one of them who is doing it. And last but not the least, the most important one, ICRF now started to support ICRF flight support mission. So anybody who wants to go back to India, who cannot afford to buy their own flight tickets, and the sponsor is not able to provide for various reasons, ICRF will come in forward and will support those requirements as well. So anybody who is having that difficulty, any of you whom you know, please get in touch with ICRF members. They will definitely able to help you. Currently, a lot of chartered flights are going from various organizations. We are all supporting that. We are very happy that a lot of organizations taking that lead. so that we don't want anybody to get stranded here at this very difficult situation. And now the fourth phase of Vande Bharat mission is started. So there are approximately 47 flights are there to India from July 1st till 16th of July. So we'll be supporting that as well. Anybody who is going in that, who requires support, please do let us know. So overall, in crux, in 3-4 minutes, that's all I can speak about ICRF, what currently we are doing, addressing the current situation. So I would request Rajiv Unikrishnan, our leading member of the media in Bahrain, a famous journalist, to take it forward from here, and let's have a successful, fruitful webinar so that we will be able to touch at least few people today's meeting. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Arul. Thank you for that introduction. And it is really proud to listen to the brief on ICRF. Indeed, ICRF has been doing a wonderful job all these years, I think since 1999. Exactly. This has been absolutely a support to the community, and very good to hear about the announcement of the flight support mission and the food kits. Beautiful. Thank you, Arul, for that brief, and I hope people make the best of the services that the ICRF is lending. And this evening, this is the second of the webinar series organized by ICRF. It is titled Living with COVID, and today we are focusing on jobs, risks, and challenges. And I'm really honored to be introducing this wonderful personality who is with us this evening. It's none other than Mr. Ahmed Al-Haiki. He is the Assistant Undersecretary for Labor Affairs at the Ministry of Labor and Social Development in the Kingdom of Bahrain. Well, my association with Mr. Ahmed goes back to years. And I must say, beyond an official, he is a human being, a true human being. And his office is one of the offices which is open to anyone and everyone with distress. And you can walk in, and I've experienced it myself. And Mr. Ahmed has, me personally, I can testify that he has solved a number of cases on a settlement basis. Not dragging it, not taking it to court, and finding an amicable situation. That's always what Ahmed is, and that's why I called him a good human being. Welcome, Ahmed, to this evening, this talk. Thank you for sparing your time on this weekend with us, with the community. And second on the list we have is Advocate V.K. Thomas. He is also a veteran in the field with 42 years of experience, and that's no mean experience. And he is the legal aid coordinator of ICRF, and he's also here tonight to respond to our questions or clarify certain doubts on the legal aspects of the current scenario the pandemic has taken over us. And last but not the least, the very important person behind ICRF, Dr. Babu Ramachandran, we all know him. He is also with us. And rightly, he pointed out the psychological impact of the pandemic has, along with the job risks and challenges. It's a very important thing. And that's what he's going to be with us tonight. And what more can we ask for this evening? So let's make the best use of this session. All those who are joining us live, please ask your questions on the Facebook page, and we'll address every question as much as possible. And please do join us. Well, let's begin with Mr. Ahmed Al-Haiki. I would take the freedom to call you Ahmed. Ahmed, the pandemic, first and foremost, has definitely affected the health scenario. Health is a major concern. And countries around the globe have stepped up their measures to support in every way possible. And Bahrain has been among the top of those countries, especially to expats. It has been such a beautiful country always when it comes to expats. And in this scenario, Bahrain has really come up with a lot of steps and measures. Why not we begin with those steps and measures? Would you like to tell us, what are the precautionary measures that the kingdom or the government took in terms of countering or combating the pandemic?
First of all, I would like to thank you for the lovely and beautiful introduction by you. You've been working together in order to help the workers in Bahrain in order to make their safe haven for them as work environment and to protect their rights. And I would like to thank as well the ICRF to organize this webinar, which is, I think, the responsibility of the NGOs is to share this pandemic with us in order to ease it for the workers and to get the message through. A lot of people, when you meet them these days and you ask them, how's things? Always they say, thanks God we are in Bahrain. As you mentioned, Bahrain really, I think not because I am Bahraini and I am working for the government, but this is the facts. Bahrain, they did a lot of works done in order to make it easy for the business, for the workers, for the people who live in this island. A lot of measurement been taken in order to make the labor market goes smoothly without any problem. They may be the only countries or some countries as well, but they didn't shut down 100%. There are some business that are still working, and some business which the spread of this COVID-19 can go more, we stop this business. One of the measurements which been taking, a lot of measurement been taking for the government of Bahrain in order to protect the workers and protect the business and save the jobs in the labor market. One of them, suspension of works fees for a period of 3 months starting from April. April and May and June, the government stopped charging any employers for LMRA fees. Number 2, a grace period has been given for all foreign workers in order to adjust their legal situation until the end of December. More than 6 months, 9 months they've been giving for the workers who have some problem or some issue with their visa. They can adjust it until the end of December. They can go to LMRA, they can apply to adjust their visas. The electricity and water bills were incurred by the government for all residents and entity. All the people who live in this island, they benefit from the government not to pay the water and the electricity bills comparing to last year from the same month. Reducing the number in order to protect the workers, reducing 10% by the number who lives in accommodation camp for the workers, to reduce it at least 10% in order to make it less numbers, the social distance, the mask they've been giving for workers, the gloves, the sanitizer in order to make it for them easily. We conduct meetings with all the embassies who have workers in this island, and to share with them what the government will do in order to protect the workers. A lot of measurements been taken in order to protect the workers as in work environment or where they stay. This time is very important for us to be healthy, to stop spreading this coronavirus, and at the same time to save the jobs, and the economic circle has to go on. Thank you.
Thank you, Ahmed. Yes, that was a brief of what the government has done so far in terms of the labor market. And as he rightly said, Bahrain is one of the few countries who have introduced so many steps to ensure. And one of the best that I would personally observe is to ensure social distancing among workers, expat workers. The government itself stepped in and arranged facilities, free facilities, where they could move their employers to. And that's something amazing. And I'm sure all of us as expats, we are really indebted to this beautiful country, its leadership and its leaders, the rulers as well. Well, moving to Dr. Babu Ramachandran, who is the Vice President of ICRF and the founder of ICRF Life. Living with COVID started with a very important topic last week on mental well-being. Job risk and challenges. Well, the topic is not limited there. You would testify to the fact that one of the major impacts of that situation, the risky situation, is the impact on the psychology or the psychological imbalance which everybody can go through. Because already we have the fear of the pandemic. Are we infected? Are we getting infected? The number of cases. Plus, there are a lot of issues on the job front. How do you see this combination taking a toll, and what will be your take, your advice to the people in this scenario?
Thank you, Raji. It's indeed a pleasure to be a part of this distinguished panel. And first of all, hats off to the leaders and the government of the Kingdom of Bahrain, which has given us such a safe place to be in here and treating everyone in the best way possible to control this pandemic, which has taken its toll not just in Bahrain, but all over the world. And as rightly pointed out by Raji, it's not just the job market alone which is affected. It's a combination of events. People lose their job, they lose their income, and what next? They don't know from where they get their next meal. Of course, there are organizations, including the ICRF, which give food for them. We make them aware of the responsibilities they have to prevent the spread of the disease by social distancing, hand washing, and so on. But at the end of it, in the back of the mind of the people who have lost their job is mental depression. They don't know what to do next. What happens to them? Suddenly you're earning a fixed amount of salary, you are lost, you don't have a job, you're stuck in your house, your family is back home in India. So I would say that the psychological depression or the concerns by many are, one, what will happen to me when I'm stuck here? And two, what about my family back home? What happens if I turn positive, COVID positive, and I am grounded here? What if I lose my job? Spending sleepless nights. It's a virtual vicious circle, a chain that takes up from the loss of job to depression to even further steps. This is what ICRF Life wants to address. Our life essentially stands for listen, involve, foster, and engage, which means you listen to the people with problems, you involve them in meaningful activities, we foster a relationship with them, and we engage them in such a way that they understand that there is light at the end of the tunnel. And it's a combined effort, an effort by the media, represented ably by Raji and several others, who take forward the message to help people overcome the psychological depression. There are volunteers out here who are ready to take calls, and we guide them, telling them that this is not the end of the world. This generation, the world has seen 2 world wars, and we came out of it. Several pandemics, we came out of it. Now we are in the midst of a pandemic. And the most important thing is to be positive about what the future holds for us. Be positive. Just, there will be problems. I'm not saying there are no problems, but try to solve these problems using all the resources at your hand and find a shoulder to cry on. We are there for you. This is what I would like to state at the beginning, and we'll take it forward as and when questions come and clarifications are needed. Thank you, Raji.
Thank you, Dr. Babu. A very wonderful message to all out there. Yes, we are all together in this, and please do reach out. And ICRF has got its own hotline and its Facebook pages. It's very live on social media, and they are very much into community welfare aid programs. Please do reach out, because it's but natural that this bleak situation could take over us. But that doesn't mean that is the end of it. We're all in it together, and we will come out of this together. And we all are hopeful of that, and we are with you. Well, moving on to Advocate Thomas. From your expertise, I'm sure you'll have to there are many questions coming in your way, Mr. Thomas, but then let's begin with this, because, you know, when it comes to legal side, it has got its own complications, as we all agree and know. And I would always take this lesson from Ahmed, because Ahmed always says, let's try to solve it before taking it further, you know, taking it legally. So please, Mr. Thomas, can you tell us, to begin with, in this pandemic time, has there been any major changes in the labor law in the country? Is there anything that expats need to know in terms of the changes in the law? Is there anything that you would like to highlight?
Thank you, Raji. First of all, I must express our gratitude to the rulers and the people of Bahrain for giving us their full support in this difficult situation. Now, Ahmad for his valued presence in this panel, and ICRF for including me in this panel. Now, turning to your question, there is no amendments to the labor law. There were no amendments for this particular purpose. However, I am happy to say from my experience in dealing with labor issues for a long time, Bahrain labor law has all the provisions to deal with any situations. As you rightly said, sometimes people misuse it, sometimes people use it. We have provisions in the labor law to deal with a thing called force majeure, that is pandemic. See, and the employers are allowed in certain cases with the consent of the employees to reduce their wages. There are provisions for dismissal of employment, termination of employment, payment of compensation. All this is provided in the labor law very clearly and precisely. So people can follow and people can do things on it. Now, although there was no amendments, but however, as Ahmad said, sorry, I am just using Mr. Ahmad, your name as Ahmad, through LMRA has done lot of things to the employers as well as to the employees. Like Ahmad mentioned, all fees have been slashed. Even they declared amnesty, so people can take advantage of it. Then even flexi permit, they are allowing for anyone who lost job. They can just go to the flexi and take a flexi. They waived off the fees. They only pay a ticket money plus the medical 72 dinar plus 90 dinar. It comes to 182 dinar. If you pay, then you can remain in Bahrain for a year. And all fees and amnesty. Amnesty is a good thing. See, if anybody cannot get a job, they don't want to remain here, at least they can stay until December or until things are settled to go back to India. So these are the things LMRA has done. And everything, all the incentives they are giving to the people, so they keep their organizations going.
Great. Thank you, Thomas. We have a lot of, to begin with, not questions, thanking Ahmed for all that great support from Bahrain for expatriates, especially the electricity and water affairs, the electricity and water bills. Thank you, Ahmed, on behalf of all of them. Well, I would want to move on to this very first question. Maybe Ahmed would want to look into this. One of the major challenges that expat employees face is after their notice period, the company asks them to leave accommodation. Neither does the employee have an alternate facility, nor does he have a flight to go back. Can the Labor Ministry involve here and stop the employer from expelling the employee from accommodation? Ahmed, I'm sure you can give us a wonderful answer for this, because we both know what has happened.
For sure. We have some complaint came from the workers. Even some of them, they went to their embassy, and they report to us, and we spoke to the employers. I assure you, all the employers, for even the workers who resign, not terminated, who resign, they don't want to continue, and they want to go home. We spoke to the employers, we understand. They give them 1 month in order to find either another job or to leave the country. But as you know, it's difficult these days not to open a flight. There are some flights already been arranged from the embassy or charter flight. And by the way, we have very good communication channels open between us and some embassies, especially I will mention today the Indian embassy. Mr. Chaudhry, who was very helpful. We got cases. We spoke to the embassies, they arranged the ticket, and they left peacefully. I would like to mention, to give my big appreciation to the embassy for helping us in order to give some tickets or some booking for these people to leave peacefully, to go home to their loved one. We ask the employers in this time, and the employees as well, we must cooperate together. Sometimes things when goes wrong, especially during this crisis or pandemic, the laws has to be applied all the time, but we depend on we count on the employers and the workers to find the solution which save both right, the workers' right and the interest of the companies. But at the same time, we don't want anybody in the street. We don't want anybody to have a problem with the accommodation in Bahrain. All of them, even if they are not working, they are sitting in the accommodation, waiting for their flights. We assure you that if there's any complaint, let them come to us and file the case. We will arrange that for them with the employers. And I want to thank all the employers, which they show their cooperation with us in order to give the chance for the workers even to stay longer with them because of the lack of the commercial flights open. Thank you.
Thank you, Ahmed. Yes, I can indeed vouch for that because it had happened many a time. So as Ahmed rightly put it, if there is any concern, please do approach your embassy or the ministry itself, which is located in Zayed Town. And it's very approachable, a ministry, one of the easiest approachable ministries. You can walk in and you can ask Mr. Haike's office or for the complaint section, and please report the matter so that it can be solved at the earliest. I hope that answered the question. There's one more question. When will we start fresh resident permits for the foreigners? Do we have an answer on it yet?
What again? Come again.
When will we start, I assume, issuing fresh resident permits? I mean, as in, whose RP has been expired and who's away.
Still, I have no answer for that.
Yes, I think that question we will have to wait and see, because as countries are slowly opening up and things getting back to normal, I'm hopeful very soon. But yes, we do not have an answer as of now. Before we go into another question, Mr. Al-Haiki, I would also want to ask you, soon we are entering, or we are already there, next month, we are into the summer months in the country, right?
Yes.
And we have this, one of the best things in the GCC, which is the summer work ban, the 2 hours work ban, the 12 to 4 midday ban on work. Are we foreseeing anything different this year in the midst of the pandemic? How are we going to ensure this? Would you like to brief us on that?
Yeah, sure. As you know, in the month of July and August, prohibited the workers to work from 12 o'clock to 4 o'clock during these 2 months. We urge all the employers and the workers to obey to this law in order to save their lives. And I assure you, almost last year, 99% from the companies and the workers, they follow this law without any violation. Some violation happen from the companies, the small companies, which even sometimes run by the individual or for the people who's working not under CR, as you know. But we assure you this year, because of, as you know, number of business been reduced all over, and I'm sure we'll not face any problem with that. And even if you look at the workers now these days, they don't even in the bus or when they work, they follow the social distance, they're wearing the mask, the gloves, taking care of themselves. That means during this 2 months, I think the number will be reduced this year from last year. I think we will reach more than 99% these 2 months.
Let's be optimistic, and thank you for the feedback. Dr. Babu, let's move into one more aspect of this job risks and challenges. As you rightly said, we are bound to be psychologically impacted. From your experience and expertise, have you come across such cases of late? And is there any success story that you would like to share where you could really reassure people in such a scenario? Would you like to share something with us?
Thank you, Raji. Yes, of late, we have been seeing many cases of people with depression, people who really come to me and share their stories, how the trauma they're going to. One, where the salary has been cut, where they have got loans to repay, where they're not able to make both ends meet, and the future seems bleak. Many people do come here like that. And when they come, initially, when I get a call on my phone via the ICRF helpline or somebody else refers someone to me, I have a personal conversation with them. Then I get them to my clinic where I see them and have a discussion with them. Reassure them that everything is not lost. Find out how they can cope with it. Different techniques like breathing exercise, like pouring out their problems. When they come, they share their problems with somebody who's willing to hear. They go back reassured. And there are people who have called me back and told me, Doctor, now I'm feeling much better. In cases where if they're unable to cope up in spite of just simple counseling or advice, I refer them to a competent psychologist or a psychiatrist as the case may be, and it's taken forward. The cases have definitely increased over the past 3 months compared to what it was, let's say 1 year back or 2 years back, or even 3 to 4 years back when the ICRF life was conceived. We never imagined a pandemic. Now there are calls which come in, sometimes late at night. People are worried even about the disease. What happens if I become COVID positive? Does it mean that I'm going to be dead in soon? I reassure them that that's not the case. Just like a viral infection, treat it with enough of positivity, following the advice of your healthcare provider, drinking plenty of warm fluids. And in case there are complications, you feel there are complications, there's always the higher tertiary healthcare centers to fall back upon. But don't, because there are people who are plagued with doubts. What happens? How long will I be in quarantine? These are some of the reasons for depression. 1, depression, thinking of the illness as such. 2, depression, thinking that if the illness comes to me, what happens to my family? 3, suppose I get an illness or my family get an illness, where will I be quarantined? Then what happens to my job? So it's a chain of events. Does not stop at one go. And now, as Mr. Ahmed rightly pointed about the job situation and what they can do, I'm sure it'll be reassuring for the people to understand that the Bahrain government and under the open arms of Mr. Ahmed, there are avenues where they can get their problems solved. Nothing is lost. This is a passing phase. That's what I would like to add here.
Very rightly said, Dr. Babu. Yes, we need a lot of positivity, because I'm very happy that you pointed out that this is just another viral infection, because people are thinking that it is something very big. We have to understand that it is something normal and it's a fever, and all we need to do is the precautions. We see it everywhere. And basically, I think the motto that the country follows right now is be responsible, and we have to be responsible. Correct. Thank you, Dr. Babu, for pointing that out. Very, very true. Mr. Thomas, can we move on to you now? There are a number of small businesses which have been massively affected, CR holders. And there is a confusion. Obviously, people have lost their jobs, or there is no income, and they need to close or wind up their businesses. People are really confused, and there have been some questions, not through the Facebook page, but then questions coming in. How does one legally shut down a CR or close a CR businesses? Can you explain that to us, please?
Yes, thank you, Rajiv. There is a provision in the labor law. If a company intends to close, they have to give a notice to the Ministry of Labor 30 days in advance.
Okay.
After these 30 days, they can give 1 month notice to the employees and terminate their contracts. First, one thing we must bear in mind that expatriates must be terminated first. At last, only Bahrain should be terminated.
Okay.
If you follow this procedure, we get full support from Ministry of Labor. And there is another advantage for employers. There are compensation payable for unlawful dismissal or termination for no cause, etc. So there is a clear provision there also that if an employer terminates an employment without cause, there is no valid reason to terminate, then there is a compensation provision in the labor law. That is 2 days salary per month of service. Now, in this case, like you take a permission from Ministry of Labor and you start the procedure to close down, you have to only pay 1 day of compensation, just 1 day per month of service. Even if you have a fixed term contract, what I was talking about was indefinite contract. Even if you have a fixed term contract, there is a compensation provision that, okay, whatever remaining period of your contract, you have to pay salary and other benefits till the end of the contract. All this situation can be resolved if the matter is presented to the Ministry of Labor in advance. Then you can reduce the compensation or explain the situation to the ministry, and they will give us full support to do all this. So that's all people should do if they are willing or if they are intending to close down their operation, rather than just shutting down and facing all the issues thereafter. But if there is only 1 or 2 employees, you can negotiate with the employees, reach a settlement, terminate them properly, then you wind down your establishment or company, whatever. But when there are number of people, like say you have 10 employees, and out of that is half is expat, half is Bahraini, you must give notice to the Ministry of Labor.
Right. Thank you, Thomas, for explaining that very, very well. Ahmed, can we take another question? Is it mandatory to give house rent allowance to employees along with leave salary? As you're aware, even during vacation, we need to pay rents. If the contract says only allowance, should the company consider this while calculating leave salary?
Okay, I would like to add for your question, okay, regarding the article number 110. When there are two in article number 110, when the company wants to apply for partial close down or full close down, they must, as my friend mentioned, 30 days to apply to the Ministry of Labor. Within 30 days, if they didn't get any feedback from the Ministry of Labor, that means been accepted, and they have to proceed for another 30 days to give notice to the employees. But as my friend mentioned, to answer, and he explained the right answer, but I just want to elaborate more for that. We assure that this is normal for any business, for any labor market in the world. Normally, always the restructure of the companies or closing some branches, opening other branches, or reducing the number of manpower, this is very healthy. And we assure you, most of the workers, okay, they get job within 30 days. most of the workers, either Bahraini or non-Bahraini. But as the law, as expect first to be layout, and the end is the Bahraini. But normally the companies, they always in Bahrain, they rethink before trying even to find for their good workers to find their jobs for either another branch or another group of the company or with another employers. Okay, thank you.
Yes, I think you were answering, you were adding to what Thomas
Yeah,
said, though
exactly.
I had another question. But then let me also ask you here, we recently have this talent portal introduced by the LMRA, isn't it? So that is also helpful to expats who are losing their jobs. Don't you think so?
Losing their job. Yeah, yes. It's helping a lot for the people who's losing their job. They can put their CVs, their application there, and the employers will look after them. And there are, I assure you, even sometimes we call the embassies, some companies these days are looking to hire some workers. Okay, and when they hear there is some company maybe shut down or closing down or partially closing, they call us and we try to arrange a meeting between the two companies in order to give a chance for the people to get the job.
Yes. Yeah, we have to accept the fact that there are a number of companies facing difficulties and they are closing down, and there is job loss, there is the risk, there is the challenge. But as rightly pointed out, the legalities by Mr. Thomas and the reassurance from Mr. Ahmed, there are opportunities. I'm sure there are opportunities, and there will be opportunities as we move on.
Yes.
So back to the question, Ahmed, like it was a question about allowances. When an employee leaves on vacation, he or she is still paying the house rent allowance. So is the employer entitled to pay the house rent allowance even during vacation?
Yes.
In his leave salary? Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you for that sweet and simple answer, which I'm sure has reassured many out there. The next question is to Mr. Thomas, I believe. Many employees are forced to leave the country after the layoff, and there are cases that they don't get the final settlement before leaving. How can this issue be tackled? Yes, and this is not, I think this situation is enhanced during the pandemic. It was always there. Like, when you are laid off or when you lose your job, you're forced to leave the country suddenly, and then you don't get your full settlement, which has become all the more recently. How do you tackle this case? Any tips to this? Any advice to this, Thomas?
Yes. See, labor, there are disputes. We have to accept it. Now, to resolve the disputes, see, there are 2-3 ways you can handle it. As Ahmed said before, first the employees should contact the embassy and see if an amicable settlement can be made. Secondly, or simultaneously, they can also approach the conciliation department at the Ministry of Labor to file the complaint and see if an amicable settlement is possible. If both these attempts fail, a case, or in the first place itself, you can file a case in the labor court. And there is no fees to filing the case. An employee can himself file the case. Only thing is he has to submit all the documents in Arabic. If it is in English, he must translate, get it certified, and file it with the court. And there is no court fees. Now, LMRA, because people have a confusion that whether LMRA handle labor dispute. It is not normally, LMRA is not handling labor dispute. They always guide people to do things. Although in the LMRA Shayla Center, there is a section there for filing labor cases. That is part of the Ministry of Justice and Islamic Affairs. They handle the cases. So, but they have a provision there, so employees themselves can go there and file their cases. You can file them yourself, or you can approach a Bahraini advocate and give a power of attorney, and he or she will assist you in sorting out this case. And one more thing, all must bear in mind that if you have a case also, there is no need for you to remain in Bahrain. You can give the power of attorney and you can leave the country rather than waiting here to get the case settled. As you know, the cases takes its own time. Court procedure has its own way of doing it. But the new labor law, which came into force in 2012, introduced strict timetable for sorting out cases. Still, even if you have a judgment, the execution of that judgment will take time. And there are three steps in a case to get finalized. One, you go to the labor administration court in case management section in the labor court. You submit all the paper. They study everything. They try to settle it. If they fail, then they transfer the case to the High Court. All this is with time limits. Now, after the judgment of the appeal or the court is final, but still there is a provision. People can go to a court called Cassation Court, which is equivalent to the Supreme Court in India. Here they call the final court or Cassation Court. So there is an opportunity to go to the Cassation Court also. But in Cassation courts, you should keep in mind that they don't entertain any claims. They only look whether the procedure have been followed correctly, or if there is any calculation error or any mistake error happened during the proceeding or in the judgment. They will only look at 2 points. They don't look at your claim. They don't entertain any new set of documents, or they will not entertain that. And in the case of, like compensation case, for example, you feel that your employer terminated your service without any real valid reason. There is a provision for compensation. Such cases must be filed within 30 days from the date of termination or the settlement. When they give the settlement, so the 30-day time limit is there. But normally, labor cases has got 1 year time limit. Within 1 year, you can file any claim under the labor law. Right. This is the steps, in brief about the filing cases.
Yes.
But the advice again will be try to sort out amicably, because that will save you a lot of time and efforts, because there are, the delays. We cannot control the hearing and all, although they set a schedule. As soon as you file a case, the court give you a schedule of hearings. But still, there will be, overlapping, so it is better always use the embassy or Ministry of Labor to settle things amicably.
Right. I think Ahmed would like to add something to this.
Yeah, I would like to add for Mr. Thomas what he mentioned regarding when somebody facing any problem with their company. Our office is open. The Ministry of Labor open their doors for them. Either they can call us or they send us email through our site, or call us on the phone, or they come to visit. And I assure you, 90% or more than 90% even, who came to complain to us, we solve the problem. And there are free legal advice in the Ministry of Labor for any consultation has to do with the workers. They can come to us. They get a free help with legal consultation, either the employers or the employees. And we file a case. We will tell what's the right for the workers. We will call the employers and the workers to call them for a meeting. We'll hear both of them, and the end of the labor law will be applied. And most of the cases which they're being filed in the Ministry of Labor, more than 90% been solved. Sometimes even the workers, they will not accept the judgment of our legal department. They have the right to go to the court within 30 days to get their to file a case, not to lose their compensation, or for 1 year for their salary, or for their rights, worker rights.
Right. That was the detailed response.
And yes, I would like to mention, before you go to any department,
sure,
come to the Ministry of Labor, before the embassy, before you go to the street, before you go to a newspaper, come to us. If we don't solve it, and I assure you, we will solve the problem. Our door
Thank
is
you,
open.
Ahmed.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ahmed,
sir.
for making that loud and clear. Yes, as promised, I'm not wearing the garb of a journalist today. I'm just moderating the
No,
show.
no. You
Yes,
are always. No,
I
I have to mention,
agree.
Raji, I have to mention something here. You were very helpful for us and for the workers and the employers.
Thank you.
Since we work together, you always bring genuine cases. Some workers, they didn't know where they go. Okay. When
Exactly.
when you help them, this is, I think, part of your job as well. So we are working together in order to help the workers to work in Bahrain with a good environment, with safe haven, and their work protected. Here in this island, the most beautiful things about it, people are here equal. Bahrain labor law, only one labor law cover both the Bahraini and non-Bahraini. We assure you,
That's right.
we will not tolerate with the worker right.
And proof for us, proof for that is all of us. I think all three of us sitting here are more than 2 to 3 decades in the country. So we didn't want to go back home. Yeah, as rightly Ahmed said, it is a teamwork. We all work as a team and taking things. I think, Thomas, would you like to add something to it?
Yeah, just I wanted to add is only that there is a translator also in the Ministry of Labor. So people don't have to be afraid to go there, because people are always afraid that if I go there, I don't know the language, what should I speak? The Ministry of Labor, they have translators there. They understand your case. I think even Hindi, they understand Hindi. Not only English, Hindi also.
Yes, Ahmed.
One more thing, even some workers, if they want to file a case without mentioning their name to the employers, we can do that.
Thank you.
Yes. The fear factor, I can really reiterate that. I don't think anybody should be scared to go to the labor ministry, because nobody's going to catch you there, you know. And thanks for that information, Thomas, for the translation. Yes, it's one of the major concerns among expats, like, what if there is nobody to translate what we have to say? And as Ahmed rightly put, I have had cases with Ahmed where people have come forward without naming them, and he had taken it up personally with the employer, and a number of cases had been solved. I cannot but say that here. Thank you very much for all that support. But before we wind up on this topic, I want either of you or one of you to explain, where should people go? Like, you know, LMRA, labor ministry, and your embassy. How do we prioritize on what and where? Is there a step that we should follow? Like, where should I go first, or where is the right place to go?
Okay, the right place, there are two things. All the workers in Bahrain, they have to follow, I think, 3 laws: the immigration laws, and the Ministry of Labor laws, and the LMRA laws as well. Anything has to be with their visa. Any problem with their visa, they can file a case in the LMRA.
Oh, okay.
Okay. For anything has to do with their salary, contract, working hours, overtime, or less calculation, or their accommodation, all these things has to do with the Ministry of Labor. All the work issue, okay? And we urge them to come to the Ministry of Labor before to go anywhere else. Some of them, if they don't want to come to us and they want to approach their embassy, we don't mind that, because we have good contact with their.
Sorry, yeah. I think Ahmed, you got muted again.
Okay. Sorry for that. I think they should come to the Ministry of Labor, file a case before to go anywhere else for any work issue. If they are not happy for our help or our service, has to do with their salary or work, has to be working issues, they can go file a case in the Ministry of Justice.
Right. Okay.
What I'm saying here, and I'm here in Bahrain, the government, the Ministry of Labor, we don't tolerate with the worker right. No, sometimes we're facing problem with some companies, facing some financial problem, maybe one or two of them, maybe you heard about them, but the end of the year, the end of the day, we will solve the problem. Maybe sometimes not 100%, okay, but we can get a good, fair solution for the workers.
Great. Thank you, Ahmed. Thomas, would you like to add anything to it, or shall we move on?
I have to support him because I am in the same field. On people coming to me, even through embassy, we say it is better that we go to the Ministry of Labor and try to settle it before going to court. Because court, as I mentioned before also, we can go to court, there is no issue, but the system, we cannot just control the system. So that has to take its own turn. Both parties should be represented, and both parties should be given an opportunity to present their case. So the court has to do all this. In the Ministry of Labor, what happened? They can immediately call the employer and the employee face to face. They can say, okay, you take this and leave the country, or whatever, whatever means of method they are using, they can do that immediately. So the employee is happy, the employer is happy. Otherwise, that is the best method to do. Why we are approaching the embassy, Ahmad, is that some people are still, although we are saying all this, some people are still afraid. If I go to the Ministry of Labor, they may put me into jail. Like this kind of fear are in their mind. So they feel that, okay, in embassy, at least there is some help. In embassy also, what they do, they take just the details and they're mostly referred to the Ministry of Labor. This is in practice what is happening.
Right. So you listeners and viewers, you heard it from the man himself, the lawyer himself telling, please go for, sorry, yes, Ahmed.
For Thomas, who will put them in jail? The employers? Nobody. Here, nobody will put you in jail unless you do some crimes. Or you can ask for your rights in a good way, in a legal way. We are here, the Ministry of Labor is to help all the workers to protect their rights. And there's no fears. Nobody can take your rights if you are obeying to the law of Bahrain. We assure you that.
Right. And arrest comes only if you violate the law. So as long as you're abiding by the law of the land, I don't think you should be afraid. Yes, I would want to complete what I started with Thomas. Thomas is an advocate with 42 years of experience. And he himself said, please try to settle it out of court before taking it to court. Because we often feel that court takes a lot of time, but that's a procedure. You can't help it. So sometimes we don't understand it. But well, as we are slowly coming to the end of the session, Ahmed, I may also you want to add something, please?
Yeah. I just want to urge even the workers, either Bahraini or non-Bahraini, I always, my advice to them, before even you file a case, if you can solve it with your employers, much better. Always, you know why? Because keep the relation between you and the employers. Even if you don't want to stay with them, even if you don't want to leave them, try to solve it according to the law. Now, in Bahrain, most of the workers, they are aware of the law. Not 100%, at least 80%. More of the employers are aware of the law. 90%, I would say, if not 100%.
Right.
The employers, before he obtaining his business, he knows what his right, what is eligible for him, what he should do, what he should not do. He should follow the laws in Bahrain. And always, I urge the employees, the workers, go talk to your HR manager or the employers, whatever, okay? Try to solve it. If not, come to us. We will solve it, I assure you, maximum within a few days. Most of the complaint we are receiving has been solved less than even 1 week.
I've had cases solved within 24 hours. I can say that.
Exactly.
Thank you. Very true. Very rightly said.
Because the cooperation we are even seeing from the employers.
Yes. Yeah, hats off to such employers also who step in. I would want to pick a cue from what Mr. Ahmed said, though we are slowly coming to the close of it, to take it to Dr. Babu. Ahmed mentioned the right thing about the awareness. Many people are not aware of the law or their rights, especially when it comes to the low income working group, perhaps, or even above that, at times. So ICRF Life, I think, can play a very important role here in spreading awareness. Are there any initiatives that we are planning on that lines?
Thank you, Raji. Listening to Mr. Ahmad in his soothing voice and Mr. Thomas, and with that wonderful coordination by you, I'm sure it has been a lot of reassurance for the people listening in. The psychological aspect has been well dealt by these two eminent people here. So that's a good thing for the ICRF Life. And ICRF itself has its avenues where people can come in. They don't need to come to us just for psychological relief. As Mr. Thomas is there, Mr. Madhavan is there. There are so many other volunteers who are working round the clock. So we can guide them. If they feel that ICRF Life is the connecting point, we can lead them from there to where exactly they have to go. Just a few words about the psychological aspect. As my final takeaway, which I would say is, remember, there is always a shoulder to cry on if you're having problems. Don't listen to what is going on in the news. Don't think that the WhatsApp, the Google, the Twitter, all that you see is correct. And don't imbibe these things and try to implement this, because that's what leads to more psychological depression. Trying to follow every known and unknown therapy to overcome the COVID-19. Forget about all this. Leave that to the professionals. Relax. If you feel tired listening to the news, switch it off. Now is the time to stay safe, but enjoy the beauty of nature. Remember, every problem has a solution. And I always repeat, if there is no solution, it means that you are part of the problem. Look at your problem from the inside, try to solve it. And always, in this beautiful island of Bahrain, we have enough avenues where people are ready to come together, as we have seen in this pandemic, to help you lead a better life. Let's wait for the light at the end of the tunnel. Life, ICRF Life, is there for you. Thank you. Those are my final words.
Right. Ahmed, there is one question. Can people go to the labor ministry in person now, as in physically, or is it all online? How do we go to the Ministry of Labor?
We prefer the social distance because their life is very important to us. Okay, call or send email. If he cannot reach that, he can come to Mr. Labor. We start receiving but few numbers, okay, because we are they can file the case. We will, the same time he was sitting in the Ministry of Labor, he will get the feedback.
Right. Okay.
But we urge them to send an email or by phone, and I assure you, they will get the same service.
Right. Yeah. Maybe one more aspect I would want to touch upon. Of late, we had heard the number of cases going up, and there was a general concern that the COVID spread is more among expats, which perhaps had led many an employer to think twice before employing, especially the domestic workers and the low-income workers. What is your sentiments to such employers? What would you tell them, Ahmed? Let's take this opportunity to reassure them.
Well, I think the coronavirus doesn't attack only the workers or the foreigners or non-Bahraini, or this kind of virus doesn't have religious or nationality or colors. Anybody can touch it. But we urge the people, Bahraini or non-Bahraini, all the people who are working in this, living in this island, to follow the instruction from the Ministry of Health, okay? And by the way, the Ministry of Health, the government of Bahrain, the Bahrain team, and the Committee of Coronavirus in Bahrain, they published in different language, Arabic, English, Urdu, Filipino, Thai, Bengali, all this kind of language. And they reach out to their camp, to where they live, in order to follow the instruction. When they follow this instruction, I'm sure it will be safe for them. But I assure you that nothing has to do with the people who's getting it all. Rich, poor, senior, workers, engineer, doctors. But if I would like really, there are people in the front line in Bahrain who carry the mission very professionally and successfully, and they save a lot of lives in Bahrain, headed by the Crown Prince.
Great.
And the doctor and the nurse and the volunteers, all these people, I think they deserve big thanks from all
Definitely.
of us.
Definitely. Hats off to all the frontline workers. They really deserve it. And I think they are the real heroes. One final question to Mr. Thomas, and we go into the final winding up of this. If a person's visa is expired, can he complain in the Ministry of Labor regarding labor-related issues?
I think Ahmad will be more able
Okay.
to answer this question.
Well, I think we prefer, I have to be fair, we prefer the worker they have to follow the rules of our countries. Okay, for example, if I travel to 20 countries in the world, I have to follow their rules. For the people who come and stay here years without a valid visa, we are, if the fault from the employers, he can file a case in the LMRA in order either to change their visa or to renew his visa. But if he have no valid visa, doesn't mean, and if he got working with somebody else, with employers, does it mean his rights will be waived? No, he can file a case with this. There are two, he violate, and he been violated. Two things. Maybe he should get the violation of he's not correcting his visa, or if he caused the reason caused by him, not by the employer, or the same times doesn't mean his right will be waived, salary or indemnity or whatever. The worker rights is always there, but I urge them to follow the rules. Believe me, safe for them, safety for them, healthy for them, better life for them, and their rights will be protected. I assure you, most of the people who live in a good accommodation and they get good medical insurance, they are under the umbrella of Bahrain labor law. People who's not having even CPR, not renewing his CPR, he have no valid visa, they will face a problem. I ask them why. But this beautiful island, you are in safe haven in this country. We are lucky to live in this island. In 1 kilometer or 2 kilometers in Manama, there are a lot of tolerance you will see in this island. For example, you will see the temple, the Hindus temple, the church, the mosque. Other religions, they can practice their right within 2 kilometers. 2 kilometers, you will see all this in Bahrain. Everybody here, most welcome and safe haven for everybody. But the most important is we have to follow the rules. We have to be under the laws of Bahrain in order to get our rights.
Very well said, rightly said. As we come to the close, I'll take an anti-clockwise wrapping up comments. Dr. Babu, what will be your final comment to our audience?
Final comments to the listeners, the viewers, and those who can spread their messages. COVID-19 is here to stay. You're not going to run away from this. You have to learn to live with COVID-19. People ask me, is it going to take 3 months, 6 months? When it started in December, we thought by April. it will get over. But no, let's plan for a year ahead or maybe two. Let's practice safe distancing, social distancing. The use of masks should become a part of our attire. Very, very important. Even if you see you don't have to wear a gloves all the time, you don't have to carry on your sanitizers everywhere with you, don't be paranoid about it. But the mask is very important. The gloves will help to a certain extent. When you go out, when you come back to your loved ones, discard them properly. Don't throw the mask around. Follow the advice given by your healthcare providers if you have doubts. Don't just take all the remedies on the net and spoil yourself. Have a healthy life. Just imagine that this is here to stay, but it is not the end of the world. It's not the end of your life. For those wanting to go back to your home country, there is a solution. Just because you didn't catch the next flight doesn't mean everything is ruined. There will be flights after that, and we are here to help you. The wonderful effort by Raji and others in the media is hats off to you all. The great effort by the rulers and the government of Bahrain is there. The ICRF, under the guidance of the Indian Embassy, is here to help you. There is legal advice, all aspects. Take care, stay safe, wish you a healthy life till we meet again.
Right. Thomas?
As advised by Ahmed, I always say stay in Bahrain with a valid residence and work permit. If you don't have one, please change or leave the island. That is the final advice I have in this session. Thank you.
Ahmed, your wrapping up comments, please.
Well, first of all, I would like to thank you, Raji, for beautiful handling this, conducting this webinar, and for ICRF as NGOs working years in Bahrain, and they are working together with us, with the Ministry of Labor, with the government, with the community, with the society, to make it easy for the workers in Bahrain and to help them and to be part of our campaign to get the message through to the society of India and Bahrain. The big thanks goes to the as I would mention Mauritania, the big thanks go to His Highness the Crown Prince and the Bahrain team, the doctors, the nurse, the medical, in the front, who's working day and nights to protect us and to make it easy for us. I would like to thank all the employers in Bahrain who's abiding by the law of Bahrain in order to give the rights to all the workers without even any conflict or dispute between us. Whenever disputes happen, please, the workers, come to the Ministry of Labor. This is your home. We will help you. As Mr. Thomas mentioned, please, I'm advising all the workers, now you have a chance to go to LMRA to correct your situation, either to work under valid visa or leave the country peacefully. Please, I'm assured this will help you more. We will look after your accommodation. We'll make sure your accommodation is very hygiene, clean, and decent. In the future, in Bahrain, we are not looking only for jobs. We are looking for decent work, decent environment work. For everybody in this island has to work under decent work, decent environment, decent accommodation, and your rights being protected. I urge all the workers which have no valid visa, this is the time to correct themselves, to apply to LMRA, to have valid visa and live with happiness in these countries. Your safety is very important. We are not only looking for the safety standard now, we are looking well-being. Your health is very important as well. Thank you, Raja, again for everything.
Thank you, gentlemen. It was a beautiful and a very productive evening. As we rightly heard from these three experts, we need to stay legal, first of all. And in this aspect, I would like to mention the amnesty, which Mr. Ahmed pointed out in his wrapping comment. Amnesty is till December 31st. And anyone who is illegal has now the time. Now it's the time for you to go to LMR and correct your situation. Stay legal. That's the first thing. Second, as Dr. Babu rightly said, stay healthy. And yes, mask should be a part of our life in future, not just during the pandemic, but onward. Yes, stay healthy. And I think from all the three comments, I would have said, don't rush to go back home, because there are a number of flights, as Arul pointed out in the beginning. The fourth phase of the Vande Bharat mission has got almost 47 flights. So take it easy, relax, and we're all in it together. And some questions are not answered, which I'm sure the ICRF team would come back to you. But a couple of things is the hotline. Somebody has asked for the Ministry of Labor's email address. I can give you the hotline. It is 800-8001, Ministry of Labor's hotline. And ICRF can be reached on 38225450. And also on their email, icrf.bh@gmail.com. These are the basic things, and it's all available on their websites. Please do reach out. And once again, before I close this session, thank you very much, Ahmed, Thomas, and Dr. Babu for being with us. Thank you, ICRF, for this beautiful webinar session. We look forward to more of such in the future for the public interest. And last but not the least, salutes to Team Bahrain, because they are the heroes. They are right out there for all of us. So it is our responsibility to be responsible so that we don't put them on the risk. Thank you. Be responsible. Stay safe. Good evening.